So, hi, and welcome to today's CX Disruptor episode. My name is Jared. I'm with product marketing in Cognigy, and today I am very pleased to be speaking with Simon Kriss. Simon is the Chief Innovation Officer at the CX Innovation Institute in Melbourne, Australia, and has a wealth of background in this area. But I'm going to let him introduce himself because I'm sure he can say it better than me.
Thanks, Jared, and thanks for having me on the CX Disruptors. I'm really proud to be here. I don't know that I can do it that much better than you. I am one of the old men of the industry, I guess. I've been around particularly contact centers and that side of CX for more than 30 years. Let's just put it that way. And have managed to work all across the globe because of that, with centres in Poland and Canada, and I've spent time in Ireland and, or lived in Hong Kong for 15 years. So really a bit of a global traveller, but always in customer-focused roles.
So I'm going to dive right in. Thanks again for being here. And our first question is sorting the hype and hope from reality. So in your perspective and many years of experience, why will AI have such a profound effect on the contact center?
Yeah, and that is the $1 million question, right? For the long time, people have talked about the death of call centers. First, it was going to be IVRs were going to kill call centers, and then the Internet of Things was going to kill call centers, and then something else. And now people are saying AI will be the death of call centers. And I don't think they will, but I think they will be probably the most profound change to our industry since the automatic call distributor, that came out in 1973 and really radically changed the industry. And the way in which I think it's going to change it is it's going to take away a lot of the mundane and a lot of the simple, is case one. Case two is that it's actually going to give us a depth of knowledge about our customers and a depth of our processes and a depth of experience that we haven't been able to do before, and that sometimes the human mind can't do. As an example, everybody's talking about ChatGPT. I wish they wouldn't, but everybody is talking about it. And they fed that model the entire contents of the internet. Now, a human couldn't go and read the entire contents of the internet, wouldn't have enough time in their life. So what I'm trying to say is that AI will be able to do these things so much faster.
Yep.
Now, of course, that opens up a new problem, which is that if you strap old processes to new technology, you're going to get the same crappy results. You're just going to get them a whole lot faster. So there's a fair bit of responsibility that comes along with implementing any kind of AI. And down to that hype and hope, I'm actually seeing it materialize under the word fear. And there's two extremes of the fear of AI. One is FOMO, so that fear of missing out. I have to go and buy the new shiny toy. And the other one is what I call FOMUF, which is fear of moving forward. And so I'm seeing people that are just getting paralyzed by the enormity of AI and kind of saying, I don't understand this. This is way beyond my time. I'm too old, whatever. And so they're just not moving forward with stuff. So I think there is a lot of hype, but I also think there is a lot of hope.
My impression is despite a lot of the very impressive art of the possible use cases out there, it's really the mundane, really the day-to-day repetitive work that will ultimately be the big difference. It won't be these crazy, sci-fi scenarios that people like to dream up.
Yeah, look, automating the jobs to be done. I heard someone phrase it that way just the other day. And that's very, very true. Taking away, there's AI that can listen to the conversation and write up your notes at the end of the call and dispose of the call. So you don't have to do that. Agents don't have to do that. You give that to any agent in any call center, they're going to love you forever. There's AI that does this and AI that does that. And then there's use cases that haven't even been explored yet by any AI vendor that I know of. that I can already think would add tons and tons of value.
Yeah, I guess as a final point, so my impression is people are so focused on AI, they see it more as this independent thing versus a supporting feature, right? It's not that it's not, oh, we have AI, it can listen to the call, it can transcribe, it can do your after call work and wrap up. It's just a feature, it's a solution, right? If you're doing it with AI, if you're doing it with something else, ultimately that's not really that important. It's about that result and that saving 2 or 3 minutes after every call.
Correct. Yeah, that efficiency grab. So, we at CX Innovation Institute, we talk about innovation in a whole pile of different ways. So there's efficiency innovation, there's sustaining innovation, there's catalyst innovation, and so on and so forth. And the contact centers most often start with efficiency innovation. So how do we become more, to your point, how do we become more efficient and save 5 minutes of AHT? That's a huge win for any contact center.
It's ultimately not as scary as it sounds if you put it in this AI ChatGPT context.
Yeah, correct.
It's a lot more grounded.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess moving on, what would you say are the latest driving forces, right? Why are contact centers now deciding or not deciding about using AI? I guess the FOMO versus FOMO, you said?
Yep, that's it. That's going to catch on, that phrase.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I think the reason that it's caught on is AI's been around for ages, right? AI's been around for 10 years. We've got different forms of AI. And conversational AI, even though I think that's one of the worst names for it, conversational AI has been around for quite a while and was starting to be used in little patches and pieces, more about figuring out a customer's intent at the front of the call was probably the most widely used use case for conversational AI. I think what's happened with the launch of ChatGPT, and I'm not just talking about the GPT engine that sits behind it, but the mere fact that they made it available to the masses by putting the chat widget in front of it, has just brought it to everybody's mind. Now everybody is talking generative AI, and for probably the last 20 years this hasn't happened, but it's occurring, is that the technology is growing faster than the use cases for it. So I only can think of 2 times in previous history where that's happened. One was industrialization after the First World War, where they were building machines to do all kinds of stuff, and they could build a machine faster than you could think of a use for it. The second one was when the internet launched, and for the first couple of years, everybody looked at the internet, but they had no idea what to do with it. Now they do. AI is doing the same thing. It's just doing it at a much faster pace. So we're just seeing these things outstripping use cases, and thus leading to, the signatories to the letter asking for a halt on development of big AI models for 6 months, because everybody's afraid that it's running away too fast and people aren't ready for everything that AI will deliver.
What about customer expectations? You talked about, the big difference. I mean, GPT, GPT-2, GPT-3, they've been around for a while. Just most people were not aware. But it was sort of this public demo, this ChatGPT that sparked this mass awareness. Do you think that mass awareness created expectations that now contact centers are racing to fill or to fulfill?
I think it depends on the user. I think, yes, there are some users that expect a more sophisticated interaction. Most of the reason, why do we all hate IVRs? Because they're clunky and they're painful, and I can't figure out how to get to a live human, and I don't want to listen to 3 minutes of junk before I get to what I need. And then the similar thing happened with bots. A lot of people saying, I don't want to chat with a bot, talk to a bot, because it's so clunky and it doesn't understand and I can't. The greatest example I can use is that if you asked a bot, or if you asked Siri or something to find you a list of 5 hotels in Fiji over Christmas for 10 days, it can understand Fiji and hotel and Christmas in 10 days. But if you then say, which one has a pool? It says, I don't understand the question because it wasn't contextual. Generative AI has given us this ability to be contextual in our conversations, which is far more human-like. So I think the customers couldn't give 20 cents worth of difference as to whether or not you're using conversational AI, generative AI, a live human. They don't care. They just want an experience that feels natural and gets them to what they need in the most efficient way possible.
Yeah.
And I think generative AI opens the door on doing a lot more non-human than what conversational AI ever did.
Yeah, I think some of the bot examples you gave, it almost reminds me of, every utterance, every sentence that you write would ultimately be a silo, right? There's no context
Correct.
between the first question and the second question. And let's be honest, that's of extremely limited use. But talking about generative AI, which you brought up, so I guess more concretely, aside from this ability to maintain what is I'd say that any additional value you see in using it, as well as kind of the implications and impact? I mean, is it something we can use alone? Is it only something that's as part of a team of, say, conversational AI, generative AI?
Yeah, look, I think there will be times when you will use a blend of generative AI and cognitive AI. You want to use cognitive AI, of course, where you don't want any hallucination and you want it to play within a set of guardrails and, say, fill a certain number of slots. So for a travel company, what day, from where, to where. Conversational AI is probably easier and better at that than generative AI, but generating, oh, that's fantastic that you're going to Bali because there's amazing scuba diving and the fish, that's generative AI. So I can see those two kind of coming together. It's interesting, though, when we talk about AI, that most people focus on the customer end. So all the discussion is about chatbots and voice bots and, email generation and all that customer-facing stuff. I think there's just as many use cases business-facing. Right. Every call center manager on the planet spends at least 5 hours a month sitting in front of PowerPoint, writing a monthly report that nobody reads.
Yep.
How good would it be to allow generative AI to go and look at your data sources, Power BI or Tableau or whatever that is, let it go and listen to 2,000 calls, let it see which articles were most used in the knowledge base, all of that type of stuff. Give it access to the data of what's happened in your WFM system in terms of staff not turning up or staff attrition, and let it write your monthly report for you. And even if it writes 98% of it and all you've got to do is top and tail, you've just turned a 5-hour job into a 15-minute job. And then we already know you can just drop all of that text into Slides AI and it'll build a set of slides for you. Or you drop it into something like Synthesia and turn it into an avatar, voiced avatar, and you send the link to a 2-minute video to the managing director and he watches a 2-minute video instead of trying to trawl through a 30-page PowerPoint deck that looks a whole lot like last month's PowerPoint deck. So, just reporting, I think there's a huge use case for AI. WFM has a massive use case for WAI, but not in the way you would think. So, yes, you can use AI to maximize number of shifts and shift patterns and things in a way that you could never do before, because the possible permutations that AI can run are just mind-boggling. Yeah. But you could also use AI to break it down to an agent by agent basis. So let's say Joe is really good at handling customer complaint calls and he runs at about a 3-minute AHT, but we notice at the 6-hour mark in his shift that moves out to a 4-minute AHT or a 5-minute AHT. He clearly gets tired late in the shift. But Mary is consistent across the board in that she's 6 minutes in those calls, but she's 3 minutes in a customer service call. So you start understanding each individual person's impact on WFM. So instead of using an average handling time, as we do across all agents across a month, it's like an average of an average of an average. Yeah. You're actually saying between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m., if Joe is on, his AHT is going to be a little bit longer. And so we might need an additional resource in those 2 hours to make up for that shortfall that we wouldn't have gotten had we just taken a blanket approach, which is what we do today.
And or potentially change your routing at that point.
You could make all of those decisions. Have your routing engine look at your WFM, and if an agent is 10 minutes from the end of their shift, deprioritize them so that they don't get a call, so that they can leave on time and go and pick up the kids from school, rather than for the 4th time this week, the kids are standing out in the rain waiting for mum to get there to pick them up.
Who's getting yelled at by someone.
Correct. Yeah. So, there's all of these smaller use cases that would actually add incredibly not only to the efficiency of the business, but also to the employee experience. And they're the things that I think aren't being talked about enough yet, but there's some really critical stuff that AI could do in there.
No, I agree. It's definitely, those are use cases which I've yet to hear of, see articles about. It's as you said, it's been completely on the customer facing side. So thank you for sharing that.
That's why we're called the Innovation Institute.
Well, I have to live up to the name. All right, I'm going to hit you with one final question, and you've given us a lot of insight. So, what would your advice be to contact center directors, to CX leaders, when they're sitting down right now, they're evaluating AI, they're trying to understand the pitfalls, the opportunities, and again sort this kind of hype and hope and figure out how can I really use this today?
That is the $1 million question.
Wait, now there's 2.
That's right. And I would say that there's 2 things that they should be thinking about. One is squarely identifying a use case. Please, for the love of God, don't go out and buy AI because it's got AI on the box. Come up with your use case and then explore and expand your thinking about how much AI could help in that use case. So that's the first thing they've got to do. The second one is to start working immediately on your ethical and responsible AI framework. I believe we're going to see more crash and burn applications of AI because people didn't think through the ethical and responsible. How does it align to your business values? If you go back to my WFM example and you start individualizing, and then you start using that information to say, hey, Joe, you've got to speed up in hour 5, that you've just blown the ethics behind AI. It's not designed to be used as a beating stick. So we need to understand what the ethics and responsible things are. You have probably heard of Karen AI or Karen AI. So Karen is an influencer on Instagram, 2 million followers, has put together an AI that will be your girlfriend for $1 a minute. She made $100,000 in the first month. Now, and she, you can ask for selfies and she'll talk nicely to you and, she'll tell you sweet stories before you go to bed, whatever you want. When some people look at that, they go straight to, well, that's totally unethical. It's totally wrong. But let's look at the other side. What about guys that are out there that are really uncomfortable in social settings and need to learn the skill of communicating with a female? Maybe they're deriving value from it. So it's not, ethics and responsibility is never cut and dry. It's always 2 sides. And so as a business, you need to think about what will we do and what won't we do? Because I find with AI, you get down to the question of, it's not what you can do, it's what you should do. Yep. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, depending on where you are in the world, you're going to have legal issues or at least regulations that harness that. I know in the US, for example, you have that ability to really individually go in and look at people, whereas in Europe,
Yep.
getting those individual agent level stats is a privacy issue and not done.
Yep.
And the only thing that I would say is communicate those ethics out to
Mm.
the organization, because if I'm sitting in a contact center and all I know is what I've read in the news, and I hear AI is coming, I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be 1984, right? The AI is going to be judging me. It's going to be watching my AHT every single minute. It's going to be making recommendations. And I mean,
Yep.
I think there's such a tremendous value of using AI, even just for these mundane tasks, that you really want your contact center agents to embrace it, to really say, hey, this can make my life better, not to constantly be worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking to your agent, you're saying, look, we're not using this to beat you up. What we're using this for is we're going to automate that post-call process stuff that you hate. We're going to give you an avatar that you're going to choose how it looks and what it sounds like, how it talks to you, and you're going to be able to use that avatar to access everything in the knowledge base and everything in every document that we have within the organization without you having to trawl through or scroll through.
Yeah.
You're just going to verbally ask the question and it's going to respond to you, and you can take that away. When you start showing them how AI is going to make their life better, I think you start to take away this fear of, oh, AI is going to take my job, and if it doesn't take my job, it's going to make my job living hell. Actually, the reality is, done properly, AI is going to do the exact opposite.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for sharing your insights and perspectives. I particularly liked the business-facing use cases that you brought up. That's really something that doesn't get enough attention.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thanks so much, Jared. Have a great day.
You too.